We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live, Boxing Ego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live.
Oh my God. Ex-WBC champion of the world, Deontay to this day, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder could end up facing Dillian Whyte, according to the latest reports, if Tyson Fury does not agree to fight his mandatory Dillian Whyte. I'm gonna explain how all this is supposed to go down in this video. Buckle up, stay tuned. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. I don't know how you found my content, but somehow, some way you made it. Please help others arrive at the content by throwing a like on the video. It's quick, it's simple, it's painless, I can assure you. And you don't know how far that goes to help others find the content. Happy holidays to everybody. Got some interesting news and I'm gonna discuss it. So, top stories. Dillian Whyte could face Deontay Wilder, according to latest reports. It says tied up. Dillian Whyte could fight Deontay Wilder for the WBC heavyweight title if Tyson Fury vacates to fight either Anthony Joshua or Usyk. So let me explain what's going on and then we'll keep it pushing and I'll give you some of my thoughts. Says Dillian Whyte could fight Deontay Wilder for the WBC heavyweight title if Tyson Fury vacates to fight Alexander Usyk or Anthony Joshua. Dillian Whyte, 33, has been waiting several years for his world title shot and has now finally been enforced as the mandatory challenger. So just when it was looking like, you know, an all British fight where Dillian Whyte was going to finally, I guess, get a crack at a champion, now they're saying they don't know, right? He is now looking to reach an agreement with Tyson Fury to face him in the early part of 2022. Although a purse bid and purse split, is yet to be agreed. The Gypsy Kings promoter Bob Arum has revealed that Tyson Fury could opt to vacate his WBC title. Listen, to vacate his WBC title and defend his Ring magazine strap instead if a deal cannot be reached. Bob Arum told Talk Sport, quote, "If we cannot come to a deal with Dillian Whyte, a fight for the Ring magazine and lineal title, we'll pick another opponent. We got to get Tyson Fury back in the ring by the end of March. Frank Warren and I are determined to come to him with an opponent that's acceptable, and we'd love to do that fight in Cardiff. Andy Ruiz Jr. is a possibility. Joseph Parker, I see, had a good victory over Derek Chisora, another possibility. And we're looking at a couple other names that might be appropriate. If Fury vacates the belt, then Wilder would be in line to fight as the mandatory challenger against Whyte for all the belts because he is ranked #1 by the WBC. Wilder lost the title, got stopped by Fury in February 2020. Then he faced him in the third fight and he was knocked out. Meanwhile, Fury would likely face someone else the caliber of Parker Ruiz Jr. while he awaits a clash with Joshua and Usyk. Usyk currently beat Joshua, so he's a unified champion. And AJ has a contractual right to a rematch with Usyk, and that's an option that looks all the more likely after Whyte was ordered for the WBC belt. This is because Fury and Usyk were hoping to make it undisputed by paying Joshua step aside. However, with Whyte now also entering the equation, it is highly unlikely Fury and Usyk would opt to pay both Whyte and Joshua step aside money. So, interesting times, you know, we unpack coming to you live. Interesting times. Now, this is great news for Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Oh my God. Now, I did see some people were speculating based on an interview Wilder did with his girl Telly, and I guess people are uncertain if Wilder's going to continue his career, if he'll decide to retire, if he wants to continue fighting. Me, I don't like to speak for the fighter. So I'm sure Wilder will come out if he has plans to either retire or anything like that. So about this news, I think Dillian Whyte versus Wilder, that would be a hell of an opportunity for Wilder to reclaim his title. I mean, he tried and he lost 2 of the fights with Tyson Fury out of the trilogy. And if Tyson Fury vacates, then he's right back in line because he's still a top quality fighter. And we have to keep in mind, Wilder had a lot of pressure kind of going into the third fight. I thought he started the Tyson Fury fight very effectively, but I think what hurt Wilder in the third fight particularly is he has so much anger and angst and venom and vitriol from all the talk and Fury trying to run from the third fight and pulling out with the games and saying he had Rona and, you know, the cheat gloves, all of that. And I think Wilder had so much rage, so he fought with that intensity, and that can be fleeting and depleting of your energy when you're not poised and calm and collect and you don't gather yourself. And I think when he was throwing them body shots in round 1, he wasn't really pacing himself. He was throwing like he was really trying to ice Tyson Fury. And as soon as Tyson Fury was able to clip him and hurt him, he kind of reverted and it was just like fight or flight mode. And then Wilder kind of reverted back into just the killer instinct. So although that fight didn't play out for him, I think Wilder still gained in the loss because some people that didn't like Deontay Wilder, they put that as their fight of the year, and they have no choice but to celebrate him as a warrior because that man fought his butt off, and somehow, some way, even though he was visibly badly hurt, somehow, some way, he came back and, you know, when it was looking ugly for him and he hurt Tyson Fury badly to the point where some people even said the count was long and, you know, Tyson Fury got dropped twice in the fight and it could have went the other way at that given moment, you know? So all in all, it didn't play out like that. Tyson Fury was able to get back up some kind of way and go back to his fundamentals, and Wilder was a bit exhausted by this point, and then he ended up getting stopped. But now Dillian Whyte, you know, this is the thing. It's Wilder has showed to be a very, like, really durable, even though he got stopped. I know some people are going to say, what do you mean durable? But you can get stopped in boxing. Not everyone is dang near Tyson Fury's 7 feet, you know, 6'9", 6'10", or whatever. Not everyone's that big and weighing 300 pounds. So I seen some people did jump ship when Wilder lost, and they think like, oh, Andy Ruiz will beat him and this and that. Bro, Andy Ruiz looks like he's about Canelo's height, and Canelo's not even that tall. You know what I'm saying? So these are completely different stylistic fights. Styles make fights, and these are different stylistic fights. So you can't just say X plus Y equals Z. It's just boxing has never worked like that. Tyson Fury is a rapid thinker. He has boxing skills, 6'9", and good, you know, just upper body movement, herky jerky style, and he has these long arms. Andy Ruiz has short arms. Dillian Whyte has long arms, but he doesn't have the overall style of a Tyson Fury, and he's shorter than Wilder, you know, at least on paper, right? So these things, you have to factor in all these nuanced things. So I think Dillian Whyte versus Wilder, it could be a great fight. You know, it could be a great fight. Both guys got knockout power. We've seen both guys at this point be knockout. I think Dillian Whyte's knockout was a little bit crazier because of who it was. Like Wilder, he looked zapped and physically exhausted, and he just showed you he's a warrior because he was somehow fighting off fumes for several rounds, producing knockouts. Dillian Whyte, you know, Povetkin did a little sidestep and he was out of here with a single shot. So it was more of an attrition thing for the Tyson Fury and Wilder third fight. But all in all, I think it's a great fight. We have to wait and see what Wilder wants to do and what his plans are. Dillian Whyte, he's been trying to get a fight. Now, I will say this, since we're doing an Unpacked, I'd like to spend a little extra time and talk about some of the things. One thing I will say that is pretty bothersome for the world of boxing is just the politics in terms of Wilder called out Anthony Joshua when they were both undefeated. And that would have been a great fight. Still would be a good fight, but it could have been a great fight in terms of making all the money in the world because Wilder at the time was undefeated. Joshua was undefeated. Now, because Eddie Hearn and AJ played these games and played keep away and try to, really A-side Wilder, lowball him, send him 12.5 million flat fees, and it's really a pay-per-view fight that, just look at the game. We're seeing Jake Paul on pay-per-view, Evander Holyfield on pay-per-view. Keith Thurman ain't fought in 3 years. He's fighting Barrios on pay-per-view. So you cannot tell me that undefeated Wilder, knockout artist, and Joshua was knocking fools out and he was undefeated. You cannot tell me a U.S. guy, star, and then the UK star, both knockout artists in the heavyweight division, wouldn't have been a pay-per-view. But Eddie Hearn had this deal with DAZN, and ultimately the fight didn't happen. So I said that to say this: the downside of it all is I think Eddie Hearn and Joshua played keep away so long to the point where the heavyweight division is almost in shambles. It's almost in shambles because since that point, Joshua's lost not once, but twice. And it's to two different people. One he avenged, and that first one was Andy Ruiz, late replacement, 5-week replacement, stopped him in New York. And then, of course, he got beat by Usyk. And now he's on the verge of possibly fighting Usyk again. And if he does fight Usyk again, that is an extremely dangerous stylistic fight because Joshua seemingly had no answers. And that would only allow Usyk to, since he got through it and he had all the answers, he almost stopped Joshua in the final round. So Usyk's confidence has to be budding and booming, whilst Joshua, it's a do or die type of fight like the Ruiz 2 fight, right? So he's in between a rock and a hard spot. If he loses to a cruiserweight who just moved up and didn't even look good, he didn't even look good at heavyweight when he first moved up, Usyk, right? But he's had his best performance when he fought against Joshua, and he did look good in that fight, right? So he showed up. So Joshua's one fight away from, losing his titles with no more rematch clauses. And then Wilder has since lost to the same man, Tyson Fury, who's a champion right now. But then now they're saying that if Tyson Fury don't fight his mandatory like the WBC ordered at their convention, then Tyson Fury might vacate his belt to fight Joseph Parker or Andy Ruiz Jr. And even though this article is saying that, I don't know that because Dillian Whyte and Wilder, it sounds good on paper, but they haven't fought for this many years, so that's not a guarantee to me. And then Andy Ruiz, that's another Al Heyman advised PBC fighter, so I don't know that, PBC is going to put Andy Ruiz in with Tyson Fury. So we could end up getting Tyson Fury versus, he already beat Derek Chisora and he just lost again, but he already beat Derek Chisora twice. So Derek Chisora, I don't think he would be a Tyson Fury opponent right next, but I don't know. I don't know what Bob Arum, because Bob Arum, he's saying stuff like, okay, if we might vacate if we can't come to a deal. That should be troubling because that means this is something that they're considering. Hey, we might not fight Dillian Whyte. So I don't know. Maybe Tyson Fury's handlers don't like the Dillian Whyte fight because Dillian Whyte claims that he whooped Tyson Fury and dropped him in sparring, and I've never heard anyone denounce it and say it's not true. So there could be some behind the scenes stuff where Top Rank and Frank Warren really don't want to fight Dillian Whyte because maybe he's too high risk, low reward with his style, and they're past sparring. I don't know. So he's saying Andy Ruiz, but again, I don't know that there's any confirmation. I don't really want to see Joseph Parker versus Tyson Fury. Plus they're buddies, so I don't even know if they really would fight. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of questions, and this is what I'm saying about the division being in shambles. Joshua looked bad in his last fight, and he took 2 losses in short order, and now he's in a do or die fight if he fights, or he's going to look bad because he's going to have to step aside and allow Tyson Fury to fight Usyk for undisputed, which he's already triggered the rematch clause. And like this article said, I don't know that would happen because you would have to appease Dillian Whyte to allow for another fight where he doesn't get a title shot. And then you would have to appease Anthony Joshua and pay him step aside money to not utilize his rematch clause. So it's all screwed up. When this heavyweight division could have been so much simpler times. Wilder was calling out. Fury was a relic. People weren't even impressed about Fury. He had disappeared. He was like on drug binges. He was out of shape and things like that. But the major players were Wilder at the time and Anthony Joshua. They were both undefeated. They should have fought when Wilder was calling them out. But Eddie Hearn and AJ, I firmly believe this, were playing games to the point where the fight didn't happen. Now Wilder got 2 losses, no belt. Joshua has no belt. And then instead of, like old media said, they said Joshua was going to fight Tyson Fury for undisputed. It's all FUBAR and it's all jacked up because now Joshua doesn't even have a belt to fight Tyson Fury for undisputed. Wilder doesn't have a belt to fight Joshua like he wanted to. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, Tyson Fury just knocked out Wilder and beat him. So you would imagine that he would try to go for undisputed, but he can't because Joshua triggered a rematch clause. And then now Dillian Whyte wants a shot. And then Top Rank is saying, hey, we might not make the fight. And if we can't make the fight with Dillian Whyte, then we'll vacate the belt. So it's just, you know, guys giving up belts and losing belts. It's all messed up. Just to be frank, it's all messed up. And what should have happened and could have happened would have resolved this. Undefeated, Joshua had most of the titles, 3 belts, 4 belts with the IBO. And then Wilder had the other one. Boom. They could have fought. Then we would have had undisputed. Now, with all this commotion, I don't see how we get to undisputed easily with the latest information coming out, right? Because anytime a champion is talking about, hey, I might not do what I'm being told to and fight my mandatory, then that means they run the risk of getting stripped. And then, although it would open the floodgate for Wilder to possibly fight Dillian Whyte, which is a good fight, it still has the title split up. You know what I mean? So this could have been a very easy situation that has now become really complicated. You know what I mean? Or even when Joshua got beat by Andy Ruiz, Wilder was still a champion at that point. You know, because he only had the draw with Tyson Fury, so he kept his title. So at that given point, Wilder had beaten Luis Ortiz, and then Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua not wanting Ruiz to get away and go back to PBC because they know PBC would have made Deontay Wilder versus Andy Ruiz for undisputed. And, you know, Eddie Hearn and AJ didn't want that. So they pressed for this rematch, put it all the way in Saudi Arabia, and it was on at a weird time, and it wasn't even a good fight, and it wasn't a big fight for boxing like it could have, like Wilder versus Ruiz would have been. So it's just, we've been stalled out of undisputed, which is the point I'm making. We unpack. We've been stalled out of undisputed for quite some time, and it doesn't look like we're getting anywhere close to it. And that's the reality of it. We're not getting anywhere close to undisputed, and it's sad because it's all because of people in suits and politics and fear and things like that. And there's so many missed opportunities at the heavyweight division. Now, you know, there's some good fights that could be made, but it's still kind of scrambled. Joshua, he's going to look bad if he steps aside to allow Fury and Usyk to fight for undisputed. And then, so was he just step aside and he don't get no action, you know? Or Tyson Fury got to vacate his belt, and then Dillian Whyte and Wilder fight, which is a good fight, but they'll fight for the WBC belt. And then what happens, we're still not going to get an undisputed anytime soon, because then Tyson Fury would have no WBC belt, and then he'd have to fight Usyk or AJ and Usyk winner. And then even if he fought them, he still wouldn't have the WBC belt because he relinquished it to allow Wilder and Dillian Whyte. So I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking this. I don't think so. But you guys let me know in the comment section. To me, it sounds pretty messed up. It doesn't seem like we'll have a conclusive number one guy with all the straps anytime soon. We unpack. Drop your thoughts in the comment section. I'm the best at this. Subscribe. Happy holidays to everybody. If you like the channel, like I said, subscribe and hit the like button. I'm out. We unpack. Coming to you live. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.